Hey everyone, Alex here, and welcome to this week's Midweek Minute. So we've been going through a message series talking about, is Jesus our mascot or master? And this past weekend we talked about worship, living a life of worship, not just thinking about worship or worshiping God on weekends at a church service, but all throughout the week. How when we recognize who Jesus really is and what he's done for us, the more deeply we follow and understand that, the more it's going to lead us into lives of worship. And for that, we've looked at the passage in Colossians chapter 1, and we looked at verses 15 through 20, but I'm just going to read the last two verses. And this was Paul writing to one of the earliest churches in a place called Colossae, what is modern-day Turkey. And he writes, "For God was pleased to have all his fullness dwell in him, in Jesus, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether things on earth, or things in heaven, by making peace through his blood shed on the cross." Yeah, I love how Paul says that God was pleased to have his fullness dwell in Jesus, that Jesus truly is God in the flesh, he writes. And he talks about how Jesus has supreme authority over all the earth. And God was pleased to have Jesus come to earth and reconcile all things, to restore all relationships, to make us right with God. So I just want to encourage you this week to really reflect on that, to really remind yourself that we worship God through our words and through our singing, and we are called to come together to do that as a community. But that church is the church gathered, but throughout the week is when God's church is scattered. Wherever we go, we are his hands and feet. We are his church. And we worship God through the giving of our time and our talents and our treasures. So what do you think this week, maybe just one day at a time, how can I use either my time, the gifts God's given me, or my treasures, the resources God's given me to point people to him? Because that's all he calls us to do. He wants us to point people to his love and the fact that God is such a loving God. He found joy in the fact that Jesus was the one to come and save us and rescue us from ourselves. So this week, wherever you go and whatever you do, would you use your time, your talents, and your treasures to point other people to him? Hope you have a great week. We'll see you next week.